Section 4, page 32. Tai Chi is also called 13 posture styles. I promote be open-minded and find real natural law. Be open-minded. In the past, you may have learned other kind of martial arts, followed other great masters, formally believed in other theories. Now, you need to have an open mind. If you have learned something, but you are not willing to give it up, then it will be very hard for you to accept new things. Find nature's law. We need to find the real thing, the natural law. Sea snails, dust, flowers are all our teachers. Spin is 8-gate, planetary orbit is 5-step, for example. If someone says that the 13 posture is about 13 different or separate moves, that is not correct. If you understand the natural law, you will understand that our single move must obey the 13 posture law. Yin and yang must have middle. The middle can adjust yin and yang, but it cannot be a single point. The middle has to be changing all the time. On the other hand, the middle must have yin and yang. Yin generates yang, yang generates yin. Energy must be converted from one form to the other. Page 33. If your Tai Chi is rigid, then someone can easily beat you. If your Tai Chi is fluid, then you hit others. If you are a solid lump, when our water wave is flashing you, can you overcome it? Our 13 posture is always moving and changing. When you face me, you feel like you are facing a tornado or ocean waves. How can you fight against the ocean waves? Soft Tai Chi appear to be soft, but when you touch it, the tornado will suck you inside. It does not matter how you struggle, you'll be helpless. 8-gate, 5-step must be S-shape. You are wrong if you only have triangle shape. I ask you to forget everything you have learned before. This is a natural law. Natural law always exists regardless of whether or not we have discovered it. I'm here to help you to unleash your own wisdom. Why are you able to understand when I explain things to you? Because you have your own wisdom. I have simply helped you to unleash it. No matter how well you are as a martial arts celebrity, no matter how great your past achievements, I only judge you based on your 8 energy and 5-step. If you can have the correct idea, then you learn Tai Chi. Page 34. A ball does not have a top nor bottom. It does not have a root. Our Tai Chi principle is the ball. A ball does not have a root. How can you push it over if it doesn't have a root? When you try to hit it, the root changes. If you try again, the root changes again. How can you practice the spiral move? You can practice from smaller circle to larger circle, or from larger circle to smaller circle. Either way, actually, all Tai Chi principles are the same. 8-gate, 5-step, and 13 posture. Your knees need to be relaxed. Last time I mentioned the heel is a bad root. Thus, your knee must be relaxed so that you don't have a bad root. You must learn the water characteristics. Suppose you step on a small boat. The boat is up and down, oscillates. If your lower body is agile, then your upper body will be more flexible. If you pay attention to the technique of a ramen, a Chinese noodle making done by hand. Ramen is done by stretching and folding the dough into strands. The twisting and subsequent stretching of the strips of dough happens due to the weight of the dough. Depending on the number of times the dough gets folded, the strands can be made in various lengths and thickness. When you watch a demonstration, it looks so easy. You think you can do it. Once you try it, you break the strands. You cannot use force. If you don't believe me, try it yourself. You need to practice so well that it is built into your subconscious mind. Page 35. Open mind and natural law. If you observe when the birds are jumping, their heels do not touch the ground. Thus, you need to learn from birds jumping. Are there rules in ocean waves? If you press a piece of wood, its sinking generates a floating root. And since this root is not broken, buoyancy makes it come back. The roly-poly toy does not have a root. What is the trajectory of the spiral motion? It can be big, it can be small. You notice the ocean snail shell. It can go from inside out or it can go outside in because one is in, one is young. Sometimes it is small, sometimes it's big. Don't worry, it will come out naturally. Our water taiji is our whole body floating and sinking. It's not turning circles. A mountain does not turn, but water will turn. Page 36. I often say you listen to the fragrance. How can I listen instead of smell? This is a special sense. Have you heard the butterfly effect? When a butterfly in Beijing flaps its wing, it may cause wind in America. When you drop a rock to a river, you see waves expanding. If there's no resistance, the wave will infinitely propagate. You are currently still not as relaxed as you should be, but you don't have to force yourself to relax. This is because your brain is not empty. Even when you are sleeping, it's not empty. See all the dreams you have, your brain is not empty. It is very hard to force yourself to sleep. Similarly, you don't have to force yourself to relax. Page 37. You have to be smarter than I am so that I can teach you. Because in most of my teaching, I use analogies. You have to understand what I did not tell you. That is why you have to be smarter than me. I can't explain 100% to everyone. You have to interpret and absorb. Thus, finding a good teacher is very difficult, but finding a good student is even harder. Once you learn a theory, you need to forget it and generalize it. Otherwise, there are so many theories. How can you remember them all? Of course, initially, you need to learn as many as possible. Not only you need to learn the correct way, you also need to recognize the wrong thing. In the end, you gradually summarize them and generalize to higher level. Ultimately, there's only one theory, and no theory is the ultimate theory. When you absorb it completely, it will belong to you. That is our Taiji theory. Page 38. What is single push hand? Ban lan cui, parry and punch is single push hand. Single push hand is ban lan cui. If you are big, then I'm big. If you are small, then I'm small as well. Currently, your push hand, they are only points and lines. You don't have the plane yet. Observe the electric fan. You find the fan is not only point and line, it has a plane, and then this plane is also curved to form a cube. This way, the fan can generate wind. For our push hands, we must change to a turning circle. We can't do it without 13 posture. Page 39. We stand on the ground like a ball. We have a single contact point with the ground. This contact point is the 8th gate. Points and lines are the basic elements. Plane and cube are the application results. Currently, you use points and lines to fight with other people. This will not work. You need to use planes and cubes. Just be aware that plane and cube consist of points and lines. How does plane and cube work? We need to change to fluid and finally become gas. How can you practice this? When you touch a point, it is already not the original point. We don't have a fixed point. You have to use the non-repeated points. Otherwise, when I keep changing, how can you counter it? Don't restrict yourself to a point or a line. Make use of the plane and cube. In this world, only fluid and gas can beat solid. Solid can never beat fluid and gas. You are force and weight. Everything will be crushed by weight. You need to change solid into liquid, change liquid into gas. This is Taiji's principle. You need to forget yourself to become liquid. If throwing your body into ocean, you forget your own solid characteristics and go along with the ocean wave, you will become liquid. When you stand on a moving boat, if your feet don't move, you lose your own instinct. Go along with the motion, you become liquid. Page 40. Years ago, we were sent to work in the countryside. At night, we crossed over a very narrow bridge. The next, we were shocked to see the bridge was so dangerous. Your legs would start wobbling if you saw the bridge in the daylight. This is the psychological factor. When you try not to use force, you have to remind yourself all the time. It is very similar to drug rehab. Using force is like using drugs. It is very hard to get rid of it. Every day you need to practice 9 times. If you only practice 1 time, how can you make significant progress? When you climb steps, you should not stop at the middle of the steps. You need to keep going forward. Do you really need the steps? Yes, you do. Without the steps, how can you reach the destination? You need a boat to pass a river. Once you reach the other bank, you no longer need the boat. If you like the boat so much, always stayed in the boat, then you cannot reach your destination. You will waste all your previous effort. We use liquid and gas. You can never beat me if you use solid, unless I make a mistake making a cement fluid. The fluid does not actually flow completely. This is not correct. We need to constantly change. Yin generates yang, yang changes to yin, never-ending changes. A straight line does not work, for example. Page 41. It is not that I want to make changes in the traditional Taiji styles. Currently, many Taiji styles don't follow the natural law, and they are not the real Taiji. If you learn the water Taiji from me, how do you teach to others? You need to understand it and master it as your own. You need to use your own language. Adjust the method for different students. If you only copy me, it is like eating an apple and spitting it out to your students. That should not be the way. Peng Lü Ji An. So many Taiji books talk about Peng Lü Ji An, but no book yet is complete. It is not that they are totally wrong. They are both correct and incorrect. They are just incomplete. They aren't 4 separate different moves. They need to be integrated into one. By the way, watch Master Byron's video on this topic. Back to book, page 42. Every part of your body can generate extra hands because your whole body are all points. You must follow all the 13 postures. Our circle from inside to yang side, and then from yang side to inside. Also watch Master Byron's video on this topic. Back to book, page 43. How do I tell if my Taiji is correct? You cannot use the forms to tell. You need to see the real thing behind it. Did you use force? It really does not matter if you have big moves or small moves, fast or slow, as long as you follow the natural law. When you are fast, you should still be neat. When you are slow, you should not stop. As long as you are liquid, the speed of the liquid does not matter. Page 44. Why can't I explain Taiji more clearly? Because any language has limitations. I agree that it starts to become annoying when I keep saying yin becomes yang and yang becomes yin over and over. But that is what Taiji is. Without yin and yang, what is Taiji? When we are yelling to catch a thief, if we run a straight line, then other people would know the person in front of us is the thief. Instead of straight line, we run in a circle. How can we tell who's the thief? Now, we have a circle. There's no difference in terms of up or down. Since there's no up or down, we should not waste our time defining it. If you can understand what I said, then you are right. Why can no one understand it even better than I do? Because my teacher is the nature, is everything in the world. That is the end of section 4.